A very good afternoon to you and welcome to the 8th Tour de Ski on the cross-country circuit. 7 stages in 9 days coming up for all the athletes today, and we've just started with the women's. The first 3 on the tracks already. Cecilia Ammonier of France about to start her 3-kilometre dash. It's what's known as the prologue, and those of you who follow the Tour will be well aware that 3 kilometres is twice the distance that they usually sprint. It's at least 2 kilometres shorter than the shortest distance race. So it's a little bit of no man's land. No one's ever quite sure whether it's the sprinters or the endurance athletes that are going to come out on top, and we're about to find out today.
Either way, Patrick, it really is a test, and I think these, well, look, it's pouring with rain. You can see from the snow, the skis are digging in quite deep. It's a tough day for the athletes, and there will be a very busy course coming up. As you said, 1.5 kilometre. They will go around this twice today.
And with a total of 3 kilometres, we're looking for a time considerably quicker than the 7 minutes 28, I think it was, that Kikkan Randall won the prologue last year. I think we should be down sub 6 minutes, but it is slow, it's wet, it's going to be hard work. Sabasic goes early for Slovenia, and we have 70 starters in all today. The big guns are going between number 50 and number 65. Marit Bjørgen goes number 65, and the biggest bit of news to hit the Tour de Ski so far, Mike, this season.
Well, unfortunately, yeah, Justyna Kowalczyk not going to take part this year, and well, she made that decision just yesterday, and really it's because of these conditions why she made the decision.
Yeah, and these conditions have forced a change. Instead of having a classic race tomorrow, a pursuit classic, which would be the normal, they've had to change it to a sprint and a freestyle sprint. Kowalczyk saying that 2 of the 7 stages in classic is not good enough, and she doesn't feel she has a chance to win. Of course she had a chance to win. She could have walked away with it. I think it was just the little nudge she needed to say, let's focus on the Olympics.
It appears that way, doesn't it? But I do get it. Of course, yesterday was supposed to be classic, but because of this limited, and they've done a great job out here in Oberhof, they've worked endlessly to bring as much snow in the region to these tracks. But I do get it. I'm not sure Justyna could have won overall this year with there being so many sprints and in the freestyle. Her freestyle technique, or her ability this year is just a little off par.
But you've just put you've put your finger on the major point, Mike. We don't know if she would have won. We need her here to find out. And what's sad for me is if the Bjørgen or Therese Johaug come through and become the first Norwegian to win the Tour de Ski, everyone is going to say, but Justyna Kowalczyk was not there.
Absolutely, and I understand from talking to Roy Young earlier today that the Norwegians were trying to say, listen, we need the classic races, and think about Teresa as well. You know, it's not good enough that we're not able to take part in the classic here tomorrow. So it's a pity, but hey, the conditions really are making this difficult.
Yeah, certainly it's something that we'll be talking about as the week goes on. Let's focus on some of the early starters. Teresa Stadlober just starting for Austria. Victoria Karl looked pretty good for Germany, going off number 8. And the Germans will certainly be waiting to find out how Hermann gets on, who's had a great season. And actually Hermann finishing in the top 5 last year. This is Sandra Ringwald, but the Germans have brought in a ringer.
They have. Evie Sachenbacher. She's well, put the rifle aside for a few days, and well, is she going to do the whole tour? Is she just going to use this as a pick-me-up to get her form, or is she trying to make it back into the cross-country team for the Olympics? I'm not sure she'll make it in the biathlon.
Well, that's it would certainly be a risky choice. She's got the potential to win a race. We've seen her in very good form. We saw her in good form in Sochi actually last year. So Sachenbacher, I think, would have been in the German squad. But after their recent performances, it's obviously going to be tough to get in the team.
Yeah, very tough indeed. You mentioned Hermann. I think the Germans, we've seen it in the sprint races so far. She's barely off the podium. I think she's a contender this year, a potential contender to take the Tour.
You don't think she's a little bit too young? I know Charlotte Kalla came through and won the second ever Tour de Ski. So it's possible to win at a young age, but I think it took Kalla 3 years to recover.
Well, yeah, has she come back from it, really? She certainly had a good start to this season. Anna Haag and maybe the experienced athletes this year. Without Justyna here, there'll be many of these the athletes who've had a depth of experience will be thinking, well, maybe this is my chance, this is my year.
Yeah, and that's another thing that brings us back to Kowalczyk, because with her in the race, everyone really was racing for second. Anna Haag just powering out of the gate. She'll be chased down by Irina Kozova of Russia. And the Russians obviously starting to look for results. I think their best hope in the women's rankings, Julia Ivanova, who goes number 43. Kazova from Sarov, 29 years old now, so pretty much in her prime. And certainly, I think we're likely to see her at the Olympics, probably in the pursuit. Kuzyakova. I wonder how the Russians are going to do in Sochi. Slightly shorter tour than the years when there is no major championships, 7 stages instead of 9. There's still no doubt that it takes it out of you. And the last 3 days in particular, Mike, with the finish up the Alpe d'Huez, which really you need a week off to recover from that.
It certainly looks that way for certain. And remember, when the Tour de Ski was introduced, 8 years ago now, we thought, boy, this is a very hard programme for them to then go back into World Cup racing, and especially if there's a major championships. But actually, a lot of the athletes have viewed it as well, and especially with these now many more sprint competitions, looking almost at it as a form builder, a very tiring form builder. And maybe that's what Petter Northug in the men's event after this will be thinking. This will lift me up to my best form.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how many actually pull out on the penultimate day, saying, "Okay, I've no chance of winning. I'm not going to boost my bank balance by competing in the final day." So Martin Troponin is across the line. Here comes Cécilia Ammonier of France. We've just seen Favourite Pisson of France starting number 16. What is the time she's after is 7:03, and slightly different caption this year. The countdown, as you can see, will only go green as she crosses the line. 7.9 inside. And now you've got to work out what her time was. What was that? 6:54.
6:54.
6:54. I'm slightly surprised it's so slow. It will get quicker. I think we'll be down around 6:20 at least, if not quicker than that.
I think all the athletes, although of course it's slow, very wet conditions, you can see it, the mud is almost coming through, but I think the athletes will agree that the course profile, Patrick, it's not overly testing. They've had to rejig the course to make it this 1.5, and it's relatively simple.
Well, we should give them credit for getting the race off in any shape or form with the conditions that they've had, and the whole of Europe being battered by testing weather over recent days. So down to 6:45 already, and that's a good run from Sevasek of Slovenia. What about the French, Mike? Doing well in biathlon. They've struggled a little in cross-country to contend with the likes of Norway and Russia.
Well, they have, yeah. In the women's field, more so, they're struggling, aren't they? And they have traditionally. There have been over the last 25 years been the odd, very good French top-class female athlete, I should say, cross-country skier. But of course, Magnifica in the men's field, second in the world ranking right now. He's having a great year.
The last few nervous moments for Katrin Zeller. Downhill sections a little bit tricky. There's an opportunity to gain a bit of time there, and that wasn't the best skiing we've ever seen from Aurélien Géant, who comes from Les Rousset. I must say, travelling around France, there are some fantastic cross-country resorts, many of which you've never heard of, but just beautiful tracks, very testing, and ideal training locations for any team. Welcome back to Oberhof, the first stage of the 2013-2014 Tour de Ski is underway, and the first 11 skiers across the line. The leading time at the moment, 6:45. This is a prologue, remember, 2 kilometres. You wouldn't have guessed it from the time, but at 2 kilometres, 6:45, they're around 50 to 55 seconds slower than we would normally see from the athletes that have been on the tracks already. Nicole Fessel of Germany. I must say, Mike, during the break, Katrine Zeller starting, I don't think I've ever seen anyone look quite so anxious on a start line, and there are certain states of arousal that you want to take yourself to, but she was on the point of nausea.
You know, it looked like absolute total fear, and I almost being sick, and the tension in the body. You have to go out hard. You cannot at any point in this track hold anything back, really, but you need flow. Well, here she is.
Yeah, let's see how she's getting on. Has she started as fast as it looked as though she intended? 1:38 from Brooks of USA, the leading time at the moment, and we're on to the red light. So Zeller just off the pace at the moment. 3 seconds is okay.
It's good. You can still see the anxiety in the face, and there's so many athletes. There are many strange looks in an athlete's face because all they're doing is concentrating totally on pushing, and that maybe gives some strange facial expressions as well.
I must say, it's not looking good for the next round of the Biathlon World Cups, which start here early in the new year. They'll be praying for some cold weather, so all their snowmaking efforts are worthwhile. You can see the penalty loop. It's going to take about 3 hours. Skis off.
Hey, but I'm realising here as Evie Sachenbacher gets to the biathlete now, coming on to the cross country, I hope she does really well, and I think she'll do okay. I think she'll be, what, 10, 15 seconds off the best?
Well, this is going to be interesting, isn't it, Mike? Because skiing with a rifle, obviously you get stronger, but the theory is you get slower, which is why you don't always carry 4 kilos around on your back when you're training.
The techniques are different as well, Patrick. You've got the rifle high up on your back. You don't want quite the upper body movement as you have in aggressive cross-country skiing. So yes, slightly different.
Fèvre Pisson, and she's a considerable margin outside already. Remember that the winner here gets a 15-second bonus, second place 10, third place 5, and so she's going to end up already at least 25 seconds down off the leaders. It's more likely to be closer to a minute. So important in the Tour de Ski to get a decent start in the first 2 days, and then you're in a competitive position.
Oh, and every day, tomorrow there's going to be 30 seconds for the winner, and it's now the sprints. It was going to be a classic trial, but every day is so important, and of course 15 seconds for a win, 10 for a second place, 5 seconds for third place today, so that's quite vital as well.
Dirty snow, soft, it's breaking up on the uphills. I wonder whether an early start number is advantageous today. Remember, the likes of Johaug and Bjørgen go off number 61 and 65. Denise Herrmann goes number 59, the best of the Germans on the tour so far. Number 29, that's Sachenbacher Stahler. How is the time? It looks pretty good to me. 1:38 from Brooks. Is it going to be challenged? Not quite, but she can't be far outside. 2.8 seconds. Good skiing so far, just ahead of Zeller, which is more important for Sachenbacher Stahler because she wants to finish in the top 2 or 3 amongst the Germans.
It's impressive. Jessica Diggins will be impressive, I'm sure, throughout this one. But going back to Evie Sachenbacher Stahler, you know, maybe that rifle, that 3.75, 4 kilograms off her back, she's got good tempo there, and she's had to alter that, well, that 15 years knowledge of her skating, her freestyle, and then carrying the rifle now. She's had to change a little. She's back to her best.
24 is Katrin Zeller, who we saw earlier on. She was 3 seconds behind at the last sprint. Holly Brooks still leading at 800 meters.
At the finish, it's still Alenka Shevchenko from Slovenia, but leading by 10 seconds. That might be a competitive time now as the race unfolds.
Yeah, Shevchenko very quick on the downhill sections. 1.4 behind now for Zeller, who's picking the pace up on the second lap. 2 times round the 1.5 kilometres into the finish now for Zeller. She looks very, very anxious. I wonder whether it's the presence of Sackenbacher. Still, she's got that facial expression, Mike, as she rounds the corner just behind Rabchova of the Czech Republic.
Nearly went down there. It did freeze last night, so that corner is still a little bit icy. The rest is beginning to get deeper and deeper, mushier.
Holly Brooks, who started fast, the very first 500 metres from Holly Brooks. She was quick at 800 metres as well, but Shevasek has been brilliant over the second loop, and Holly Brooks perhaps just pacing this one wrong, and that's one of the main features of this prologue. It's so difficult to get the pacing right. You cannot tell me, Mike, that 3,000 metres is a sprint.
Well, Holly Brooks is the ultimate fighter, and you could just see her poor little body was just poisoned with lactic acid there. She could not get the tempo.
Well, maybe the American team's briefing is go 100% on the first lap, survive the second.
Maybe. And hey, Ano Kaisa Saarinen in the classic last week in Asiago, the sprint races, she looked almost at her best. Remember back in 2009 when she, 3 gold, 1 silver, 1 bronze at the World Champs.
And of course, Finland have won the Tour de Ski on 2 occasions, both with Virpi Koitunen. And if you want a useless guide to who's going to win the Tour de Ski this year, we can tell you that in the 7 previous editions, no woman whose surname doesn't begin with K has ever won it. So we've had Koitunen, we've had Kalla, we've had Kowalczyk. If we go by that, maybe Hannah Kolb is going to be the one who comes through.
Maybe.
And Kiloinen is there, possibility. I think that's about it.
Well, she did look good, the Finn. She looked very good in Italy. Her sprinting is good.
Is it going to be Marit Bjørgen's year? Well, that is the question. Therese Johaug is evidently hoping not. Bjørgen's Achilles heel on this Tour de Ski has been and will be this year the final stage, the Alpe d'Huez. She's good, but she's not good enough to be able to close a gap of any, she cannot close a gap. In fact, she needs a good minute's advantage going into the final day, if not more.
Interesting, and I think unfortunately for Therese Johaug, she's not an out-and-out sprinter. She just hasn't got the fast twitch fibers to match with Bjørgen, and therefore I think Bjørgen's going to carry a lot of advantages as the days unfold.
Nicole Fessel can't match Shevasek's time of 6:45, going into 7th place at the moment. Top 3, Shevasek leading. Caroline Hug of France has had a very good run. She's only 9.1 outside the leading time. And Catherine Zeller on exactly the same time as the French woman, with Cecilia Armonier in 4th at the moment. Is that about to change with Ropinen coming into the finish just outside? Yes, goes into 2nd. Good skiing from Ropinen, and that will give her a solid start in tomorrow's race.
Evie, yeah.
Welcome back to Oberhof. The Tour de Ski has started, and the Americans have started well. The Slovenians have started exceptionally well and have the lead at the moment, with Shevasek with a time of 6:45.1. Evie Sackenbacher has just failed to overtake that time. In fact, Sackenbacher down in 13th position at the moment and likely to be pushed down to 14th as Rabkova comes in for the Czech Republic. She's not going to match 6:45, but she's not far outside. 2nd or 3rd coming up for the Czech. Just ahead of Ropinen, 0.9 of a second in it. But still, it is early days, but we're yet to make a final decision on whether an early start is essential to win this one. I think Shevasek's time could last. It could survive another 5 or 6 minutes, Mike, before the really big guns get underway.
It's looking so much better, Patrick, and the traffic, of course, everyone sharing this 1.5 kilometre, each athlete doing it twice. I'm convinced the track is breaking up, it's getting mushier, therefore more friction.
Jess Diggins coming in for USA. Holly Brooks has finished her run. Holly Brooks started very fast, but now down in 7th place, 10.7 off the pace, and Diggins is going to be very, very close. I think we could have a new leader. Are the USA going into the lead? Yes, just 1.5 seconds in it, and Jess Diggins, who started fast, has finished fast enough to take the lead.
That was impressive.
Now the first of the big Norwegians, Kirsten Stormer Stiara. never quite sure whether the prologue is her thing, but over the years, Mike, she's proved herself good in different techniques. She's a thinker. Look where she's skiing. She's gone to the right-hand side. She's looking for the only bit of clean, flat, smooth snow.
Brilliant, isn't it? The track craft there is brilliant. She should go... There's more skating space if she went wider, but the inside line, she's got the hard snow. She'll go way over to the left, the least skied part. This track is getting slower.
Now, as long as she stays within 2 meters of the actual track, she'll be fine. You may have seen her drifting past the fir cones. Good thinking from Stara. There's no doubt there's been a briefing in the Norwegian team as we see number 45. That's Kirku Niskanen coming up 2 seconds outside. That will do nicely. That's a really good position to attack from. And it's the sort of split you want, isn't it, Mike? You're 2-3 seconds off the pace because you know that if you dig deep enough, you can close that sort of margin.
It's hang-onable. It's holdable. I must admit, Latinmäki, good form, great talent, junior world champion. She looked freezing on the start line there. This drizzle, it's cold out there. Or damp cold, it's not really cold at all.
Yeah, where was the bin liner to just keep the wind away?
I'm amazed she didn't copy what she saw Steyr do as Steyr left the start line and stay way over to her right on the unskied piece of track.
Yeah, even if you only gain 0.25%, it can make all the difference on a race like this. You've seen how close it is. Apart from the 2 leaders, we've only got 4 seconds separating positions 5 down to 20, something like that. Saarinen coming through, and she's outside, but it's quick enough to be competitive. 0.5 the margin, and Diggins survives. So Saarinen into second place, Sevesek, the original leader, down into third, and things are starting to heat up here in Oberhof.
Hey, there's a thing, Patrick. Saarinen on good form. She's got the endurance, the strength. She knows her racing. She knows her body after so many 15, 16 years international racing. She could be a real chance for taking the title this year.
Alpchemise?
She's a fighter. She's strong on the uphills. And the classics she will do well. She can sprint.
Well, looking forward to seeing the rest of the American team. Sophie Caldwell goes 54 because those we've seen so far have started very well indeed. And Kiloinen, she will no doubt have heard that Saarinen has put in a very good run, and that will encourage her because she'll know that if Saarinen's skis are running well, hers will be as well. They'll all have exactly the same wax on. They're not the same skis, obviously, and the bases may be slightly different, but it's always encouraging to hear that someone in your team is going well. Tour de Ski, as I'm sure you're aware, also playing a part of the World Cup total score as we see Østerberg of Norway taking the lead, 1:37, only a small margin for Østerberg, but Jakobsen, the former world sprint champion, just waiting to start, and of course Marit Bjørgen and Therese Johaug of Norway and Heidi Weng yet to get out on the tracks. They're all in it this year, Mike. With Bjørgen in particular, the Tour de Ski is the only thing she has never won. The Tour de Ski is the only thing that a Norwegian has never won. So it really is something that they want to tick, get it out the way, get the monkey off their backs, and then they can settle into normal routine.
And without Justina Kowalczyk this year, they've so many of the Norwegians. Jakobsen, well, Heidi Weng, she's a real fighter, real talent. She must be feeling good. Of course, Therese Johaug, not the sprinter, we mentioned that earlier. That will be a disadvantage for her, but she will have the fastest time you would expect on the last day, which is, what, 4 kilometres, well, a 9k event, but the last 4 kilometres up a downhill slope.
Yeah, if she's on very good form, I think Therese Johaug can probably take a minute off anyone. So that will probably be her aim, to stay within 45 seconds of the leaders come the final day. Astrid Jakobsen of Norway. Late start for Jakobsen. She's got Heidi Weng to chase down, which is always quite nice to have someone in your own team because you know exactly what you should do relative to their performance.
Our ski poles, you can see they dug in at the start, they pushed through the surface of the snow. I must say, Patrick, Jakobsen just looked, epitomised comfort, focus, ease on the start line.
Well, Caldwell is performing well above expectations. Sophie Caldwell. The Americans will be disappointed that Keegan Randall isn't around.
It's a good American team with Holly Brooks, Caldwell showing her form there. It's good, it's very good. Jessie Diggins, it's a strong team.
Niskanen just outside, 2.8 seconds, not a lot in it, and that's fine for her, not too much thrown away at this stage. Now, potential winner of today's race, certainly. Potential winner of the Tour, we'll have to wait and find out. Denise Herrmann, she has the support of a very substantial crowd, and all credit to them for turning out in absolutely foul conditions. But Oberhof, it's been a mecca for training in the past. Of course, it's a venue that's been used for biathlon, it's used for ski jumping, it's used for bobsleigh, and so many come and take a holiday here and enjoy the sporting events at the same time.
It's a great area, and of course the ski tunnel that they have here now as well, offering what, 1.6 kilometers under, well, some of it underground, some of it a big concrete structure, frozen in the summer, and you can ski there all year round. They stored a lot of the snow for these tracks in that tunnel.
Well, you can ski all year round. It's been the saving grace this week because the teams have not been allowed, they haven't been allowed to ski on the tracks, they haven't been allowed to breathe on the tracks for fear of losing even more snow. Therese Johaug just about to start for Norway. As number 47, that was Stara across the line. We'll give you her time there. She is down into 12th. Disappointing for Stiara. She was close enough at 800 metres, but has lost it on that second loop.
13.5 seconds. She can't believe it.
That's a big margin. And remember, 15-second bonus for today's winner, so she's going to end up almost 30 seconds behind. 59 is Denise Herrmann round that first corner. Not brilliant skills, but she was a little unlucky that she was coming up behind traffic on the very first corner.
Yeah, that completely affected her race entry line to that corner, but she got out. Maybe she's lost that 1.2 seconds on that corner.
Yeah, going wide and losing her speed. Number 52 is Elise Brocard of Italy. Winning time, Mike. I thought initially we were going to be down to 6:25, 6:30. We're only down as far as 6:43 at the moment, and no one's looked like beating it by a substantial margin.
No, I think we said when Alenka Shebashek came through that may well be one of the best times today. Well, she's still in third place, 1.5 second behind, so 6:43.6. Jessie Diggins, the lead time at the moment.
USA, Finland, Slovenia. 61 is Therese Johaug. Slightly slower tempo than we're used to seeing from her. This is Osterberg coming in. In fact, this is Osterberg. 61 is Johaug. And Osterberg with the quickest intermediate time. Has she managed to keep it going? 6:43. She's still got over 50 metres to go. It's disappeared on the second lap for Stiara, and it's disappeared on the second lap for Osterberg as well. Disappointing.
It's a horrible entry to this finish line. It's deceptive, it's slightly uphill.
The queen of Nordic skiing, or should Justina have the crown at the moment?
It's a close call, isn't it? Although the medals that, of course, Bjørgen won at the World Champs last year again, and of course the Olympics, she's getting all the major title medals.
Yeah, and she looked hungry. She looked very hungry for this title, which, as we've mentioned, is the only thing that Marit Bjørgen has not won in cross-country skiing. She's won the Mini Tour up in Ruka. She, of course, has won the Tour in Falun at the end of the season. She's won the overall. She's got world titles, Olympic titles, but she does not have a Tour de Ski title. Will 2014 be the year for that as Kiloinen comes in? This is a good run from Kiloinen, 6:43.6. It's close. Oh, just outside. Second place for Finland, and with Saarinen in third, it's looking very good for them. Astrid Jakobsen is ahead of 4:59, but I wouldn't get too excited at the moment because we've seen the Norwegians fade badly on the very last 700 metres, and maybe it's going to happen to her as well.
Jakobsen looking so in control, like she was on the start line, just totally controlled on her technique.
Well, I think this is the best result we've seen from Caldwell in World Cup standings. She could well be on for a top 10 finish today. That would be fantastic. I know we've got 80 starters, but all the talent, or the last of the big names, is Marit Bjørgen, who is now out on the tracks wearing 65 and 136.3. Is she inside Osterberg? Just, but my goodness, is Marit Bjørgen going for this one?
Oh, she's treating this like an 800 metre, like a 1.2 kilometre sprint race. A lot of energy burnt up there.
Don't forget, she's got to do that particular section again, Mike. That's probably the scrappiest skiing I've ever seen from Marit Bjørgen, which might be a case of the nerves.
Can't disagree. She did look very, very tense. The work rate was well and truly there, but the flow not quite normal, what we see from Bjørgen.
Claudia Niestadt just starting for Germany. We still have Hannah Kolb of Germany also to start 71. Rosie Musgrave, we haven't mentioned her yet, Britain's only competitor in the women's Tour de Ski, and of course the sister of Andrew Musgrave, who has been on the World Cup circuit. He's done a few races this year, hasn't all gone to plan so far.
Not entirely. 34th place in Davos. He's thereabouts, and I think he'll be good today.
New leader, Jakobsen across the line, 6 seconds inside, and that's a really good run. She was 3.5, so she's turned it round. Most of the Norwegians fading on the second lap. Jakobsen seems to have done it the other way round.
Oh, she looked so controlled today, and she didn't have that panicked, aggressive attack. She kept it smooth.
Yeah,
I think you have to still keep it within yourself, keep the control and the technique.
59, Germany's big hope for this season, Denise Herrmann. In the men's, will Toby Angerer do it again? Remember, he's the first ever winner of the Tour de Ski on the men's tour. He's back again this season. And the German men bringing in some biathletes as well.
Well, that's right. Arndt Pfeiffer had his first ever World Cup win here in biathlon. Totally out of the blue. No one expected it. Could he do the same today? He's the very last man to start, so it's unlikely. Do
you think he'll just race today and tomorrow and then pack it in? I think that's highly the likely scenario, isn't it?
I think a lot of the athletes are just using the sprint races to pick up form in the early days.
Jakobsen will survive on 6:36, but that's a very good time for Herrmann. The clock hasn't stopped. It will do. It will do eventually. We'll try and get you her time. She's gone into second place, and she's just ahead of Jessie Diggins, who's now third, and Kaloinen is in 4:61.
Jakobsen has destroyed the field there. Clearly good skis, the Norwegians, or Jakobsen must have a good skis for such a late starter to do so well.
Johaug down in 7th place at the 5-minute stage, 2.3 kilometres. She managed to pick it up. She was 5.6 seconds down on the current leader, Astrid Jakobsen. That's a big margin to try and close up. Jakobsen, as you said, Mike, looked very, very smooth. Johaug with 3 seconds. No, it's not going to go her way. But she wouldn't have been expecting to win today. She won't be expecting to win tomorrow. And actually, the change in format of tomorrow's race really doesn't suit Johaug at all, does it?
No.
11 seconds outside.
11, she'll be disappointed with that. And then, of course, the winner's going to get 15-second advantage as well, and it could be Bjørgen.
Well, there are so many big names missing. Sweden will be glad to see Eriksson doing well. They don't have anyone in the top 10. Charlotte Kalla is not here this year.
I was just saying, sorry, Bjørgen, maybe the main contender. Bjørgen has just gone through 4 minutes 53. She's 2.5 seconds ahead of Jakobsen.
Well, taking full advantage of the fact that she has started last of the seeded skiers. We've seen it so many times because inevitably, Mike, she wins Ruka, which is the first round of the World Cups, gets a decent lead in the World Cup, but it then means that she always races phases 2, 3, 4, 5 as the last starter. So she's getting used to being given all the information she needs, and no team is better at providing that information than the Norwegians.
Huge backup team. They've got the knowledge, they've got all the backup support out there. She's looking a little bit heavy now, but she's blasted this 1.5 kilometre track.
Well, I tell you what, a performance like this today, you can almost see the lactate in her body. There's tension in the shoulders, she's not flowing as nicely as she usually does, and it's all because she's so hungry for success here. It's been a great run. She's still got 23 seconds to get in across the line. Just over 100 metres to go for Marit Bjørgen. After this performance, tomorrow's sprint is going to be one very, very difficult race indeed. 12 seconds left, 60 metres to go. Marit Bjørgen is just going to scrape inside Jakobsen's time. She had 2.5 seconds at the 2.3 kilometre stage, and that's cut right down to 1 second. 6:36.3 is beaten, and Marit Bjørgen, we're just waiting for confirmation. We think it's, in fact, it's gone down to 6:28. 6:28.8. The clock's completely wrong at the moment.
Well, that's an unbelievable time. In fact, no, it's been readjusted. I thought it was 1.9 ahead of Jakobsen.
6:34.4. They finally made their minds up, and Marit Bjørgen, who really took the lead at 800 metres, just 0.2 of a second ahead of Østerberg, has built on that, and it looks as though she is going to be the woman who claims the 15-second bonus. It started just as she would have wanted, but as I was saying as she came into the finish, Mike, a sprint tomorrow, 1.5k, it's the same track. She looked pretty finished compared to Jakobsen and Østerberg.
Oh, she did. She looked force-spent. Jakovic coming in, and without Justina Kowalczyk, we've got another good pole. She's been getting better and better each year.
Good finish. Well, an exciting race. We've still got a few athletes out there, but all of them with 70 FIS points or more, which and the more points you have, the lower your ranking in the world system. So it would be a major upset if one of them were to come through and claim a top 10 finish. Claudia Nystedt, in her day, was a class act, but we haven't seen that for a while. A lot of Germans competing today, Mike, and their best position at the moment, Denise Herrmann, as expected.
It is, and I think that was an amazing performance from Sylwia Jaśkowiec. She's third place at the moment, the Polish athlete, 7 seconds behind. She'll get 5 seconds, and it's likely to remain in that order.
Top 10 separated by only 12 seconds at the moment, and Nystedt is just going to miss out on that. But if she goes top 20, I think she'll be very, very happy with her performance today. Just behind Katrin Zeller, and again a few problems with the clock, but not a bad effort from Nystedt.
It's good. I think that Bjørgen and Jakobsen, they've kind of skewed the results because they're ahead by, or Bjørgen's 7 seconds ahead of third place. So it really, those time deficits look worse than they actually are, if that makes sense.
And then the bonuses, more bonuses in the sprint tomorrow. Firstly, you've got to qualify for the knockout phases. And actually, the difference in the sprint in the Tour de Ski and the sprint on the World Cup Tour is your qualifying time is vitally important. In the World Cup, it's forgotten about. If you get top 30, you get through to the knockout phases. In the Tour de Ski, your qualifying time is then the time that you add or take the bonuses off.
Yeah, it's a tough call. And then when, you know, if you get through to the finals, you've got 4 times around this 1.5 kilometre track tomorrow, full pace. That's not just in a mind sense, nervous energy, and getting yourself up for the big attack 4 times. It's very draining in these conditions as well.
Top 40 for Hannah Kolb at the moment, and some way behind her teammates, some way behind Sackenbacher. I wonder what Sackenbacher's presence does to the rest of the German team, Mike, or whether we're just going to see her do a couple of races and then go back to biathlon. We'll try and track down a few members of the German team and find out exactly what the plan is.
I think that probably will be the plan, just use this as preparation for the World Cup here starting, the end of next week.
The men's race due off at 3 o'clock local time, 2 o'clock if you're in the UK, and slightly bigger field in the men's. Fewer people sitting out. We're going to miss Calla. We're certainly going to miss Keegan Randall, who I thought was a potential top 5 finisher in the Tour this year, or would have been. But obviously Sochi is their main focus. I think Charlotte Calla is a case of once bitten, twice shy. I know she won it back in 2008, but as we said earlier, it did finish her off, certainly for the next season, and I think for 2 or 3 seasons after that. We didn't see her at her best again.
We didn't. And then, of course, we saw Charlotte Calla coming down. She was unwell. She came down to the last day to watch them cross the line, having won it the year before. And that must have been quite emotional for her to have won the previous year and not be able to take part. Just notice, Patrick, Posey Musgrave 12.8 seconds behind at the first split timing. She hasn't come through the second split time yet. The 2.3 kilometres, she should be there very soon. Just gone through, 40.9 behind, 75th position.
No Russians in the top 10 at the moment, and that will be of some concern to them. Italy's Gaia Vurich, 22-year-old. Difficult to know how to ski on these conditions. Finding the right snow is important. You can see the moisture on the snow, and I suspect, Mike, that different skis required at the end of this race than were required at the beginning. Bigger grooves cut into the base just to spill the water off the side.
A lot of friction, as you say, the very wet conditions now, and 45 minutes ago it was different. There's Posey Musgrave coming in now. Well done, Posey. Fatiguing towards the end of the race.
Vurich 77, 24 seconds outside, and that's not a bad run for her. I think she'll be relatively happy with that and be in a good position in the sprint tomorrow. Now let's just go through the programme for the women's tour. As you know, it's 7 stages rather than 9, and we'll squeeze those 7 stages into 9 days. 3-kilometre freestyle today, 1.5-kilometre sprint tomorrow, a day off on the 30th, and then they're back in action on the 31st, where they have another 1.4-kilometre sprint. And then the first of the classic legs is on New Year's Day, and it's going to be a 10k classic. And with only 2 classic races in this, that's a race that the classic skiers surely should be given more advantages for doing well. The bonuses should be greater if you're only going to have 2 classic races.
Interesting point, but I mean I know the Tour de Ski's planned in the summer and the points are awarded then. Maybe they should rethink it now, saying, well, we need to superload these 2 classic days out of 7 days racing and award some extra seconds. And maybe that would have encouraged Justyna Kowalczyk to stay, to be here, to grace the Tour with her amazing performances.
Yeah, and I do. One advantage of the changes, Mike, is it means the first 3 days really play into the hands of the sprinters. 3k today, 1.5 tomorrow, 1.4 on the 31st. Gives the sprinters a chance to open up some sort of a gap. The problem in the Women's Tour is the good sprinters are the good distance races as well.
Same names, isn't it?
Yeah. It's not quite the same case in the men's. Except
Therese Johaug, she doesn't really have that sprint today. What is she? She's still up there, but a little off the pace. Just try and confirm her position.
Seven Tour de Skis and only 3 women have won it. Well, Jaskowitz of Poland has really excelled herself today. It won't count as a World Cup podium, but she will get plenty of World Cup points. Just so you know, 90,000 Swiss francs on offer for the winner of the Tour de Ski, and Marit Bjørgen will pick up 3,000 Swiss francs to add to the substantial sum that she's already accrued throughout this season. And she'll get another 1,000 tomorrow just for wearing the yellow bib as the Tour leader. It's all looking pretty good. Christmas is more than paid for.
Ah, just brilliant. And well, I remember this time last year she had some issues after Christmas with her increased heartbeat.
Well, it was just before Christmas. That's why we didn't see her in the Tour de Ski last year. Yeah, a raised heartbeat. Supraventricular tachycardia. I think that's what it was. How's that for a name?
Take your word for that. I'm super impressed with Jaskowitz. Can't praise her enough today for pole in third place. And her previous best this season is down in the 20s, I think 24th.
Further down, Holly Brooks, who was an early leader, coming in 21st, 21 seconds behind in the end. But that's not a bad run from Holly Brooks. And the Americans will be trying to make up for the fact that Keegan Randall is not around. Skofterud down in the low 20s. Elizabeth Stephen of USA just ahead of Evelina Settlin. And any other surprises there? Medvedeva quite a long way down the order. Anna Haag of Sweden, certainly wouldn't have expected her to be outside the top 40, but that's how tight it is, only 30 seconds separating the top 50 skiers.
Look at this, the men
Marit
getting out
Bjørgen
for a
of Norway,
warm-up.
today's winner of the women's prologue here in Oberhof. Rainy conditions, how was it out there on the skis?
It was a little bit difficult to find actually the good speed because the snow was not so fast, and it's a short race also, so it's really hard to find the right speed. But today it was good for me, and I had really good skis also. So yeah, I'm really happy. I had a good start. It's 2 weeks since last competition, so it's good to be back again, and also have Astrid on the podium today.
Well, congratulations on the victory and good luck the rest of the tour.
Thank you.
Well, I wonder whether he was told not to ask about Justina Kowalczyk, but that's what we all want to know. What does she think, and does it have a negative effect on her tour, or does it make her even more eager to make sure that she wins it this time round?
Oh, I think it will. It must release something in her that her main rival over so many years is not here. That victory, she must think, is hers.
Well, the men now allowed on the tracks just to do their warm-up, and already the tracks are in pretty poor condition, so it's going to be a tough day for them, and they start in just over 10 minutes' time. Marit Bjørgen there, you can see with the winning time 6:19.4, so we weren't too far out with our predictions, but we were saved by Bjørgen and Jakobsen, who both pushed very, very hard indeed. Therese Johaug down in 11th. I think she would have settled for that before the day, but 28 seconds behind. That's a substantial margin now that the bonuses have been added.
It's a huge margin. That's a huge setback, I think, for Therese Johaug, but she knew she wouldn't be picking up those 15, 10 or 5 bonuses.
And if Marit Bjørgen goes and wins the sprint tomorrow, the gap may be too big already.
Exactly. Tomorrow, 30 seconds awarded to the winner.
Well, the rain has eased, but the temperature is far too warm for this time of year. There you see the standings in the overall. Look at the margin that Bjørgen has opened up, and with Kowalczyk away, you can pick up 750 World Cup points if you win every stage, and of course if you win every stage you're going to win the overall. 400 points for winning the overall, which could mean that the overall title is just about signed and sealed before the second week of January.
Well, the way that Bjørgen showed us her attack, her power out there, she may well win every stage and pick up the 400 for the overall, and as you say, that would clean up the season.
So just a few minutes before the men's start, we'll take a very quick break, and we'll be back with the start list for their 4.5 kilometre. Welcome back to Oberhof. It's a pretty dreary day here in Germany, and they have managed to get the women's race completed. Jaskowitz of Poland has produced the race of her life on the podium for the first time, despite one or two dodgy corners, but her ski's going very, very well. She's claimed third place. Astrid Jakobsen showing her best form of the season as well, into second place for Norway, recording a time of just over 6:36. 6:36.3 for Jakobsen. She was quickest early on, but the last of the seeds to start, one Marit Bjørgen, has done it yet again. Another stage win for her, another 3,000 Swiss francs in the bank, and she is well on her way to making what would be her first successful attempt at winning the Tour de Ski. One stage down, 6 to go. Marit Bjuggen evidently on very, very good form, having had to miss out on the Tour last year. And she has taken the top prize, 6:34.4, the winning time. Remember, it was only 3 kilometres, so we were expecting a time well under the 6-minute mark. That just gives you some idea of how soft and how slow the snow conditions are here in Oberhof. It's misty as always. The only thing missing is the ferocious wind that often whips around the stadium here. And Jaskovic doing her best to chat to Marit Bjuggen, not showing any signs of intimidation. Perhaps the best female skier that there has ever been. I think she can claim that, Mike, simply because she can win classic and she can win freestyle on any day. Kowalczyk is without a doubt the best classic skier, the strongest classic skier there's ever been.
I think so, and when you compare, well, Kowalczyk with Bjuggen, look at the victories that Bjuggen has. Well, I think it's 60. Well, today doesn't really count in its total, but this will be 64th victory today. It's phenomenal. Yeah,
the stage wins don't count. You've got to win the whole tour to claim a World Cup, which seems a little bit harsh, considering the field is essentially just about the same.
I think it should count. She won the race today. The best in the world took part. She had to get herself up for that challenge. Great day for Poland.
Yeah, with Justyna Kowalczyk missing, someone else has stepped up to the mark and done exceptionally well. And she didn't get an early start number. Jaskovic, in fact, starting outside the top-seeded group with FIS points of 81. That's going to come tumbling down, I think, Mike.
It is.
She's going to go down to single figures, I suspect, after today's performance. Marit Bjuggen, every win, she seems to celebrate the same way. Astonishing. She's just as hungry as she was 7, 8, 9 years ago. When do you think she was in her prime, or do you think she's still in her prime?
Oh, I honestly think she's getting better. Her mindset's getting better. She's not as, well, when I say serious, it means a lot to her, but she's backing off and she's got other interests in life, and I think that's what's helping her now.
So there you see the podium positions. Let's just go through some of the minor placings, because Denise Herrmann certainly deserves a mention. She's finished 4th yet again, only 8.4 off the leader's time. Jessica Diggins of USA, 5th position, well done to her. And Kiloinen of Finland, 6th, with Saarinen in 7th. That's a useful pairing, Mike. I suspect we might see Kiloinen and Saarinen teaming up, just as we used to see Kuitunen and Saarinen, and they work brilliantly together on the tour.
Oh, they do. And Saarinen, it's a good position she has today. She's shown her form last week in Asiago down in Italy. She really is in good form.
Now that is an unusual prize. I suspect that might not be going in excess baggage. On goes the black bib as the sprint leader. They have the red bib. She's got the yellow bib as the overall World Cup Tour leader. Plenty of choice. Someone hasn't worked out how Velcro you...
He hasn't had the briefing. Just looking down the finish order there, Patrick, I think I'm right in saying the best of the Russians was Polina Medvedeva in 38th position, 27 seconds behind.
Yeah, a long, long way down. Well, it's nice to see the podium ceremony. We'll take another quick break while they hand out the rest of the prizes, and we'll be back with the men's race very shortly. No change in the weather here in Oberhof, as you can see, although maybe the mist is lifting a little bit. At least the spectators can see something. Most of them have disappeared to the entertainment tents for the break in between the women and the men's race, as we have a look at the BMW Drive Trophy. Those are the points that have been awarded so far this season. At the moment it's going to be Kowalczyk who walks away with the BMW at the end of the season, but a long way to go. And I guess with Kowalczyk pulling out of the Tour de Ski, she's pretty much given up her pursuit of the World Cup trophy this year.
I think so. Missing out on all these points, all these races, it's totally going to reduce her chances.
But does it increase her chances of taking a little more Russian gold?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, I think in the past she's made the mistake of racing too hard right the way up to the Olympics and the major championships. So the men's race is next, as you know, and 4.5 kilometres, so 3 times round the loop. The pacing is going to be even harder. It's exactly the same 1.5 kilometre loop, so the traffic is going to be heavier. The agility on the skis is going to be vital for those who start late on, and anyone who's travelling faster than the average speed could be in a little spot of bother in the men's prologue, which starts very shortly. Welcome back to Oberhof. There you see the details of the first stage of the men's Tour de Ski, the prologue, 4.5 kilometres. We've just heard an interview with Andrew Musgrave, the man from Huntley, who will be racing today, just saying it's a little bit of a weird distance. Really saying, I think what he was trying to say, Mike, was the fact that pacing on a distance like this is so difficult. Actually, we are going to hear from Andy Musgrave. That would be nice. And he looks in good shape, and certainly looks as though he's enjoying himself.
And I think with his early start number, and anyway today with bib number 6, I think he could be a real contender in this one.
You're excited to get started?
Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes. 4.5k is not the most normal distance, so it's always a bit like, what am I going to do? How fast will I go out? And the tactics are a bit weird with this sort of race. But yeah, I think it'll be good. Good to come start going, and yeah, just good to get going in the race.
All right, well, good luck today.
Thanks a lot.
Well, he raced the Tour de Ski last year, Mike. I would imagine his expectations are a little bit higher this year.
I think so, and today he will feel, I think, so good about having that bib number 6, and he will attack this course, and I think you will see him setting all the early times that the rest will be chasing.
The legs of one Petter Northug just going out of your screen. Is he going to be the winner this year? I think it could be interesting on the men's side. Obviously the Russians did brilliantly last year. Dario Colonia is missing, which is a great shame for the Swiss. Have you had an update on his condition, Mike?
Just all I've heard, he's still continually working in the gym and doing as much as he can do within the physio's advice, but certainly keeping his heart and lungs going, keeping some endurance work. But the problem is that ankle after the operation is going to be weak, and it will take him quite some time to be strong again. But I honestly think sometimes a negative setback like that, it can be a positive when it comes to the majors. He's not stressed with all these races, and it will maybe just keep him sharp for one focus in February.
Good turnout for the men's tour this year. Number 109 and number 109 is Arndt Pfeiffer of Germany, doing a switch across from biathlon. As you see, the temperature 2.2. It's due to get down below freezing tonight, which is good news, but they want below freezing and then the precipitation, and they could do with a good 15 centimetres of snow overnight just to get the tracks into good condition. There's the prologue, or the profile of the course, I should say. An easy start out of the stadium normally, but with the wet snow, it's still quite hard work. Down towards the 750 mark, Mike, and then quite a brutal climb back up.
It is, but overall, when you look at the total climb of this track, it's not testing in terms of how we often see some of these prologue. It is a funny distance, as Andrew Musgrave said. It's a strange distance, but not overly testing in terms of severe climbs.
Im blau-weißen Anzug der finnischen Mannschaft.
So at last, the first of the men, Anssi Penttinen, is on the start line for the men's Tour de Ski. And with 109 starters, it is going to take over 53 minutes to get them all underway. Finland will be hoping that obviously Penttinen can do something. Otherwise, Mike, I don't think the Finns have got too much chance. Maybe Matti Häkkinen, who starts number 74. I know you sometimes fancy him for a brilliant run, but I don't see him as a Tour de Ski contender.
I don't think so. In the women's field, you said it. Kilonen, Saarinen, there's some real good names. Ropinen as well in the women's field. Men slightly lacking, but we'll have to wait and see. Penttinen is a good classic sprint racer.
So, Zutkin for Belarus hasn't managed to break into the top 60 of any event so far this year. And so for him, it's really a case of hang on as long as possible on the Tour de Ski. Just like Tour de France and all Tour races, if you get too far behind the leaders, you are kindly requested to remove yourself from the start sheet on the next day. Algo Karp from Viljandi in Estonia. Saw him in Whistler last year. He raced the 50-kilometre classic out there, and over the years that's where the Estonians have been good, on the long classic races.
And of course, Verpalu was their man for a long time with his Olympic titles and world titles.
Well, who do you think is going to take the tour? Will it be Alexander Leikhoff again, who starts number 90?
He's certainly a man up there. The cameras, I'm so pleased to see focusing on Andrew Musgrave. And they know his potential. 4th at the Junior World Championships.
Ville Nusainen, that's not a bad marker to have 30 seconds ahead of you, Mike. Those two could have a bit of a battle.
Be interesting to see how the pacing works here. Are they just going to attack from the gun to the line? But at 4.5, it's a horrible distance. The body just does, it's not a sprint. It's not overall long endurance, and these conditions are difficult. You can't feel your best balance because of the deep snow.
Well, Nusainen and Musgrave producing almost identical times in the sprint race in Davos, the last round of World Cup racing. What a talent Musgrave is. He's done exceptionally well. Brought up in Alaska, that really was where his skiing started. I remember him coming to one of the Snowsport England training camps, what must have been 10 years ago now, but even then he was ferociously competitive. Didn't matter what it was, whether it was getting to the meal first or getting around the racetrack first. It was a real pleasure to see him in action. Technically he's improved dramatically, and I guess better at the freestyle at the moment than he is at the classic.
Absolutely, and that has been the case for some time, but I'm so pleased to say as well that he's put a lot of time and effort and change into his classic, so a much more all-rounder than he was maybe last year. And we haven't seen the best of him yet this season, and a good chance to see the track as he comes down the first descent.
Well, I know they've salted certain sections of the course while the break between the women's and the men's has been on, but you've seen a couple of corners that aren't, and even the crowd here impressed by what they've seen. Technically absolutely brilliant, but the thing that sticks out, Mike, is the fact that he just gives it 100%. As no one told him he's got to go 4.5 kilometres.
It's brilliant, isn't it? I remember you seeing that Snowsport England camp up in Norway, even at the table tennis table, fearsomely competitive. Boy, he hit that corner fast, and his exit line was wide, but that's the pace he went into it, and I hope he can keep this pace going. Great to follow him around the track.
Well, he's got to calm down at some stage.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Well, I hope he does well today, and certainly with the change in schedule, an extra freestyle race certainly plays into his hands, and we could see him featuring in the top 30-35 come the end of day 3 of the Tour de Ski, which would be a fantastic result. Back to the start line now, and Germany have got Thomas Wick on the line, number 11. Perillat for France, just about a start from Le Grand Bonnat, which is where the last but one of the biathlon World Cups was taking place, and a great venue, Mike, for training. It's not at altitude, but they've got plenty of options.
It's wonderful, and to be brought up and live in Le Grand Bernard, what a wonderful setting for your training as well. Very, very lucky. And of course they've got the big biathlon stadium there now.
So 4:42 for Pentsinen going through that first checkpoint. Let's have an estimate at Andy Musgrave's time, assuming we're going to see him go through 4:42. I think he could be closer to 4:32.
I really hope so. I think maybe 3:37, 3:38. But we'll have to wait and see. But I think he will be ahead of Pentsinen. Pentsinen is no slouch out there. He's a very, very good sprinter.
Andrew Newell, well, he's a brilliant sprinter. And the Americans will be hoping that he can do something over the first 3 days or so. The Americans, certainly on the women's side, I think one of the best improved teams over the last 3 years.
Undoubtedly. They've got momentum. Kickin Randall's given the team all the positivity. Well, they're a very happy, positive team. And on the men's side, Andrew Newell, he can do so well today, Patrick. He's so often unlucky in the sprint races, like last weekend in Asiago. He fell and finished 26th. I thought he could win down there.
So are you suggesting that America's improvement is all down to their team spirit? Surely there has to be some physiological thing, some sort of thing they're doing training that's different.
Oh no, they're training so methodically, sensibly, but I do believe that this ultra confidence that the team has in their own potential and in their own belief, it goes a long way. They really are a team that is gelled so tight and work for each other. That's got to help.
Ville Nusainen coming up to 2.3 kilometres. And this is a good start from Nusainen. He's gone very, very hard indeed. Already completed his first lap, now chasing down Thomas Wick of Germany. And he's going to be well under 4:42, almost 4:32 for Nusainen of Finland, the current leader. He's still got a long way to go. Musgrave will be the next through that checkpoint. Here he comes. And taking a little bit of time out of Andrew Newell. He's got good company there with Andrew Newell. I wonder whether we'll see him go past, because he's certainly taken time out of him. 4:33, the current leading time, and Musgrave is going to be inside. Brilliant. Absolutely superb start, but can he keep it going? 2.3 completed. He still has... he's got another 2.2 to go, so pretty much at the halfway stage.
Looking so good, and as you say, in behind Newell, who's got the fresher legs. His first time up that climb.
Russia's Volzentsev. Saw him skiing pretty well in Lillehammer in the 15k classic there, as Driehaug goes through outside Musgrave's time. And again, Mike, an advantage to go early. This track is going to be a mess by the time Ledkov and Magnificar and Sundby get out on the course. So Musgrave perhaps doing the right thing and trying to take advantage of his first lap, which is going to be the one where the snow's in the best condition.
Yeah, attacking so much. I think Sedov, junior world champion, he has another possibility here to put himself in the top 5.
Baumann of Switzerland, 10 seconds outside the fastest time. Now, how often have you seen the Union Jack posted against the man with the fastest split time in a World Cup cross-country? I don't think it's ever happened since we've been working here at Eurosport, Mike. 4:30, that current leading time. Is Eriksson going to push him down? No, Eriksson is outside as well in a matter of 5 or 6 seconds.
Wonderful start for Andrew Musgrave. And when Driehaug came through here, Driehaug was a very different strategy, just taking it slightly less aggressive, slightly less attack on the climbs, and maybe Driehaug's just thinking of the next 2 rotations around this 1.5 kilometre track.
Backscheider for France. Currently just inside the top 100 in the World Cup standings, 99th position. A good race here today could change that and push him up into the top 80 as we see Penttinen of Finland coming in towards the finish now. His 4.5 kilometres nearly over. And as you say, Mike, the finish here, apart from the fact that you can hardly ever see it, it's deceptive because it looks flat, but there is just that 1 degree angle. And anyone who's set the treadmill at 1 degree knows that there is a massive difference between that and flat.
It's horrible, it really is, and it seems to go on forever. It's only 250, 300 metres, but you really feel the pain. I think I've done about 11 World Cup biathlons here, and every time it's so painful to the finish.
Welcome back to Oberhof. The early starters just coming across the line after their 4.5 kilometre prologue run. Andy Musgrave has just finished. He's tied up, not surprisingly, a little bit on the last lap, but the first two were absolutely superb, producing a very good halfway split point time. But Musgrave, as you can see, has been pushed down into second by Nusiainen, who has the leading time at the moment of 9:22.2. Now, Trikscher of Austria is another man who's out there producing a good time. 4:29 now, the leading time at 2.3. And Trikscher will be into the finish area in a couple of minutes or so. Eriksson comes across the line. Now, Eriksson started slowly, Mike, but he's pushed that leading time down to 9:22 with a brilliant finish. And I think already we can determine that actually your energy is better spent on the last lap while everyone else is fading.
I think it's so important. It'll be interesting. Well, Trikscher just coming up the hill in the background. It'll be interesting to watch the pacing. And yes, you have to keep flow and movement, the ability to keep technically good on the last 1.5 kilometres.
Yeah, Eriksson was 3 seconds behind at the halfway stage. Eisenlauer, who comes from Sonthofen, which is an area known well by British military skiers. Now, Andrew Newell had the company of Andrew Musgrave for his first and second lap. Everyone looking tired on the last 500 metres, Mike.
Yeah, very much so. I have Newell down at about 4 seconds off Trikscher's time, which Musgrave was just half a second behind on the final split point before the finish.
And he's still just about the same margin adrift of Eriksson's time at 9:18.9. Nusiainen 5, Musgrave down into 6, and Newell into 12th position. My goodness, it is tight at the moment. Are we going to see the times tumbling as we go towards those who have the highest ranking in the World Cup? Trikscher, who started very fast, looks to be fatiguing in the closing stages.
Well, unbelievably, the coaches running up the track, you can see them in the background, got completely in the way of Trikscher. Trikscher wanted the left side where the track is more firm, but the coaches, he nearly got taken out by one of them. That's the last thing you want.
Always one for a little bit of drama.
But Trikscher set the early split, and look how he's faded in that last 1.5.
Well, he certainly wasn't going to produce the best time if he'd had his chosen line into the finish. There was the mistake. Teichmann for Germany. What is he going to do this year? I've been quite impressed with Teichmann this year. He hasn't raced a huge amount, Mike, but when was it? Back in 2005, 2006, where he could hardly put a foot wrong until he went to the Olympics.
Well, in fact, he had a hair follicle. Remember that took him out of one of the Olympics, the 2006.
It was Torino. Torino didn't race in Torino. An ingrowing hair follicle.
Yeah, just
some reason to miss out on Olympic potential glory.
Well, I think it was a massive hole in his leg at the time. I mean, it was a big setback at the time, sadly.
Goulot, number 24. He's thumping the ground, perhaps not the most efficient style we've seen so far today. Robin Duvillard now for France. And the French will be waiting to see Maurice Magnificat start. Magnificat, who promised great things up in Norway in Lillehammer, but couldn't produce them there. But he has got better since then. And Magnificat currently lying in second place in the World Cup rankings, having taken the win in the 30k freestyle in Davos. Here's a popular man.
A real character as well. He lives just down the road from here, and he comes up to training on his little scooter.
He could have spared a smile for those who've turned out to watch in what are pretty grim conditions. And all credit, because we've got a crowd of just under 10,000 at the moment. It will be twice or three times that for the biathlon in just over a week's time.
Just thinking, the big guys like Teichmann here, what, 78 kilos, 77, 78 kilos, they will be finding this track. They'll sink into it instead of floating lightly over the surface.
Yeah, it's a day for your 62 kilo men, and Magnificat is of light stature. Trying to think, what about Legkov? He's a fairly powerful big man, isn't he?
He is. He's just super. He's all chest and legs, and but I think this will suit him. This hard work course. He's not technically the best on downhill sections, and they're quite easy here today.
What about the man who we would have spent the whole at least 15 minutes talking about already, had he been on the same form as previous years, Peder Northug?
Peder Northug, he loves any challenge like this, and he won this one last year. I think he has the chance of doing the same again this year.
Devon Kershaw goes through in 5th for Canada. Hard start for him as we watch Rahima coming up towards the finish.
Estonian keeping it, trying to keep the movements as efficient, gliding as long and easy as he can. Just his legs are dead, his arms are leg, and he's just trying to make the technique work.
Perhaps one of the things, technical things worth mentioning, Mike, is when the snow's soft like this, it's even more important that your weight is evenly distributed, front and back of the ski, but more importantly side to side, because if you put too much weight on the inside of the ski, the edge will dig into the snow and you come to a grinding halt. And that perhaps is why we saw Rahima just trying to glide smoothly, keep the ski as flat as possible.
Indeed, and you know, often you find in these soft conditions, some athletes will favour much longer skating skis today to spread the distribution so they don't sink in quite as much.
Still leading in the Finnish area, Jens Eriksson of Sweden ahead of Jauhi Järvi, who's come through for Finland, having started number 18. And Rahima of Estonia with a time of, just around 9:20 for this 4.5 kilometre. Musgrave of Great Britain still lying in 6th position. But that position will tumble, but the very fact that he got a good early start, I think, is certainly going to play into his favour and keep the margins between the top 20 much smaller than normal.
It seems that way, as the track is definitely breaking up more and more. We saw that in the women's race, it was deteriorating. But interesting, the different styles. We saw Rahima, who's standing in 3rd position, is a good time. He went for the long glide option. And less tempo. He just tried to reach up the track as far as he could, a bit like we're seeing Teichmann, but well, Teichmann's 9.8 off. He always starts slow, but he's only got 4.5 kilometres, so half distance.
Frank Ulrich now working with the German cross-country team, and that's interesting, isn't it, Mike, pulling your top coaches from biathlon across into cross-country? What do you feel about that?
It's an interesting move. Of course, Jochen Behler before him. The fact that Frank Ulrich has so many world titles, World Cup victories in biathlon from his day, he does know his training structures. And I think he's done the team a lot of good. He's certainly a top coach, but it does seem a little strange.
Devon Kershaw out in the mist. There he is with the maple leaf on the suit, and this isn't a bad time from Devon Kershaw. It's certainly taking the lead, and that's a good margin, 11 seconds inside, and Kershaw was way down at the previous intermediate sprint, so he's paced that one absolutely superbly. He's got a lot of speed out of all the current leaders on that very last lap of 1.5 kilometres. Lessons to be learnt there, I feel. Will David Hoffa demonstrate the same? Starting for Italy, a member of the Carabinieri, the Italian mountain troops, so many of whom are based up in San Candido.
Devon Kershaw picked up 5 seconds in the last 700 metres. Phenomenal finish to his race.
Save something for the finish. It may look flat, it's far from it. 39 is Frans Göring now, who started just a couple of minutes behind Axel Teichmann, and Teichmann already 11 seconds off the pace, going through 2.3. Göring is even slower than that, 13.3 behind, down in 26th position with only 39 through that stage of the race. So it's not looking too good for Göring at the moment.
As the minutes tick by, it's making Devon Kershaw's time look amazing at the moment. Certainly at the finish line, 11.4. I'm not sure if that time is touchable.
Sundby won't be feeling the same. Maurice Magnificat. As far as Magnificat goes, Mike, do you feel classic or freestyle his real chance?
Oh, definitely freestyle. He is out and out, he prefers the skating. He's worked on his classic, but he's very, very strong in the freestyle. He'll be looking for a win.
Now, here's a man who's been around for a while, comes from Östersund in Sweden. In fact, he's got some very nice little chalets you can rent just outside the Östersund Biathlon Stadium. And that's a good place to go if there's any snow. Always worth checking nowadays. As you can see, those who've come to Oberhof for some Christmas skiing will be very, very disappointed with the conditions at the moment. Sundgren, Mike, good freestyle technician, but he's not a sprinter by any stretch of the imagination, so the first 3 days of this tour are going to be tough for him.
I think they'll be tough. The classic, he can pull time back. He's one of these guys that are fearless to go out front and lead the pack. Well, he knows he doesn't have a sprint finish, so in the classic, we could expect him out front. I don't know. I wonder what his expectations are here. I wouldn't think he'd make the top 5 in 9 days' time at the top of the final climb. We saw Jens Fjellbrich lining up, one of only 3 athletes who've completed every Tour de Ski, alongside Petter Northug in the men's field and Giorgio Di Centa, who's here as well. All 3 of them are here. Again, could it be 8 in a row, 8 years in a row to complete the Tour de Ski? But Patrick, I think from the 109 athletes we've got on the start line today, I think we'll only see, 55 to 60 at the most athletes finishing on the final day.
Yeah, I think it's one of those seasons, isn't it, that if things don't go well, athletes are likely to pull out and save something for the World Cups coming up in January, and then, of course, the Olympic Games starting in February. I think, 7th, 8th that the races get underway. Quite a busy programme for the cross-country skiers, certainly, with the 50-kilometre on the very final day of the Olympic Games. That's always a fantastic spectacle. Looking forward to that. Teichmann across the line, 22.5 off the pace and outside the top 15. That's a good scalp Musgrave's taken there. Number 57, again from Sweden, Danny Rickardsson. The Swedes were leading earlier on with Eriksson, who produced a time of just over 9:17. But that margin has now been cut significantly by Devon Kershaw of Canada, who was 4 seconds off the pace at the halfway stage, but has opened up a massive lead of over 9 seconds over Duvillard of France. Eriksson now pushed down into the third, 11.4 behind. Hannes Dotzler of Germany. Good roar from the somewhat partisan crowd here, and just wait until number 62 gets underway. That is Toby Angerer, the winner of the first ever Tour de Ski, who starts in 2 minutes time, and he's starting behind the oldest man in the field, Giorgio Di Centa.
Di Centa, am I right to say he's 41-year-old now? That's quite amazing. And most likely going to the Olympics, Di Centa. Most likely he'll be finishing in the top 10 in this Tour de Ski, or even higher.
Can he repeat his success of 2006 when he won the 50 kilometre in Torino? Sødergren through 9.3, a very distinctive style, isn't it, Mike? Sødergren, Rota of Norway.
I like his chances, Patrick. He's a very light build. He's a wonderful technician on the skating skis, floating across the surface. Let's see how his technique will be. Will it be the long glide? Certainly the fast attack, and he always reads the terrain well.
Yeah, straight over to the right-hand side, looking for some slightly firmer snow than the mush that's in the middle of the track at the moment. Babikov for Canada. He's still going. What a career Babikov has had, and he really was the man who introduced the Canadians to hard training, and it certainly paid dividends. Here we go with Giorgio De Centa, the Olympic 50k champion from 2006, and still searching for more success in his 40s.
41-year-old, 2 months and 20 days old. Amazing guy.
I get the feeling that the youngsters in the Italian team are going to have to force De Centa out, because he's not going to resign his position.
He's not. He loves his racing. He said that. He's got his wife and his 3 kids support it totally.
Here we go. 2-time overall World Cup champion Toby Angara underway. That would be a popular win if he were to come through and produce the fastest time. Anything under 9 minutes is going to be very, very difficult to beat. 9:07, currently the leading score. And Angara always looks as though there's a lot of tension in those shoulders, Mike. We watched him training. Oh, what a mess. What a mess. That was Angara's fault, I'm afraid. He should have been able to read the situation there. And in fact, he was trying to get past Alex Harvey.
Well, what a pity. That unsettles you at the start of your race, and I wonder if he'll just get on with the job and not let it worry him. This is where Jens Philbrick was brought up and trained from a young age. Well, Dario's not here, but his little brother is, Gianluca.
He's not been doing too badly. I think it's been the opportunity that he's been waiting for. And older brother steps aside, and he's certainly doing his best to fill the shoes.
I thought he was great down in Asiago last week. He put in a fantastic time there, well, 3rd place.
But the way he skied, it was very easy to mistake him for Dario Colonia. Just the aggressive lines he was taking, and the technique almost identical.
Yeah, he really is maturing, and he must believe in himself this year, especially after the races last weekend in Italy. I thought Larkov would do better than his 21.8 behind.
No Russians in the top 10 at the moment. We do still have a Brit in the top 10. Andrew Musgrave in 10th position at the moment. His time 16 seconds slower than the current leading score from Devon Kershaw, although Musgrave was considerably quicker than Kershaw going through the halfway stage. And that tells you all you need to know about how to pace a 4.5. It's a prologue. The sprinters get excited because they think it's nice and short, but it's not a sprint.
Oh, and the payback really is horrific in terms of how your arms and your legs feel. Just wooden, dead. Chucked his pole. Gjerdalen.
Oh, come on.
Bad changeover. And that's cost him, what, 4 seconds, 5 seconds?
If not more. Well, that's something that they must practice, what look like the British relay teams. It's not so easy on skis, but we've seen this season how smooth and how efficient it can be. That was a little bit of a mess and disappointing. 58 is Hannes Dotzler of Germany. He looked technically still looking pretty strong. You can see how high they have to lift the feet in these soft conditions, and that's something that I'm not sure is going to suit Petter Northug.
Interesting. Well, here no, not Northug quite yet. As this race is unfolding, we mentioned Devon Kershaw's amazing time there at 9:07. How it may be possible that no one's going to touch that time. It's looking better as the race unfolds. But there are, of course, huge names still to come.
Plenty of them. The last of the big seeds goes number 94. The last 15 or so are all those who are ranked outside. Well, they're the lowest 15 ranked skiers, but we had a podium finisher in the women's from the lowest 15, so surprises are possible. This is Sirota, who Mike fancied for a good run, but if he's pacing it, he's chancing his arm a little. He's given away 10 seconds in the first half of the race. Number 70, Finn Hagen Kroch of Norway, good sprinter. He'll be glad of the changes for tomorrow's race. Giorgio De Centa, only 9 seconds. That will do nicely. I wonder how many thousands of kilometres he's skied in his career.
Oh, a phenomenal amount. What he'll do, 5,000 or 6,000, 5,000 kilometres in roller skis in the summer, and then endless kilometres in the winter with all these races each year.
Toby Angerer coming up towards 2.3, and even he can't match the time of Tritcher, but Tritcher faded in the closing stages and actually has dropped out of the top 10 position. So the Austrian trying to make an impression, might have kept his sponsors happy, but he's not made life easy for himself in the Tour standings. Alex Harvey's produced a good time for the Canadians. He started 56, and we're still waiting for him to come into the finish. He should be the next of the big names through. That would be nice. Alex has had a low-profile season so far. I'm afraid it's always the way that when we go on a commercial, someone does something extraordinary. And Alex Harvey is the man who has produced the best run of the day so far. Brilliant finish from Alex Harvey. And we now have 2 Canadians sitting at the top of the leaderboard in the men's prologue. Mike, the one thing I noticed about the way Harvey finished this, firstly, the first half of the race, he was again 3-4 seconds off the pace of the fastest time, but he still was skiing, he was still balanced when he came down that last 500 metres. He wasn't having any problem using the skate 3 or the skate 2, switching between the 2 techniques, accelerating when he needed to. It was a brilliant finish and worth, what, 4, 5, 6 seconds?
Yeah, and I think the fact that he was still relaxed, and as you say, keeping his weight directly over the ski, keeping the ski flat and not going onto an edge too quickly. A very difficult thing to do when the snow is giving way under your ski.
Now, you said you didn't think 9:07 would be beaten. Do you think 9:03 will be beaten?
Well, it's certainly, when Alex Harvey has turned around 6.5 seconds in the last 700 metres, then yes, I would say the likes of Northug can turn that around as well.
If he wants to. If he wants to.
But he needs to be there or thereabouts at the 3.5.
And each sprint finish, you pay a price for that at the end of the Tour. And I thought in recent years that Northug has decided that you cannot afford to race the first 3 stages hard. Here he goes. What's he going to do? Well, that's he means business. The acceleration out of the start gate, absolutely essential. Straight onto the firmer snow, but he's got the worst of the conditions. And Northug, I think, has a point to prove this year.
I love his balance and movement. Nothing's too hard for him, really, and he's got great reaction and timing of when he flicks out. The main drive of skating is coming from below the knee, that little flick through the lower leg.
Well, now you're going to see the contrast between those on their first lap and those on their second. Northug struggling to stay on the course because he's cornering so fast. It will not be the same picture next time round. Rota, 33.6 behind. That's disappointing. I suspect he might have taken a fall.
Possibly. All season, though, we haven't really seen him spark at what we expected from his performances last season. So, again, looking a little flat. Certainly lovely technique out there, but flat. He is not on form.
I think that was 20 seconds he lost on the last lap, which to me
maybe a fall.
Suggests a stumble at the very least. Giorgio De Centa, who was 9 seconds outside when he went through 2.3. He likewise is 35 behind, so maybe those who haven't got anything left for the last lap are losing bucketfuls of time. Those like Alex Harvey, who still have a little bit of spring in the legs, are gaining massive amounts of time. Toby Angerer won't threaten the leaders. Well, this is looking better and better and better for one Andrew Musgrave, who's just been pushed out of the top 10.
He's still 11th, though. He's still there, and from 62 starters, it's fantastic.
Here's a man who has not only won the Tour once, he's won it twice. Lukas Bauer.
And certainly looking so strong again this season, Patrick. I felt, certainly up in Kusamo.
Angara, Bauer, Legkov, Colonia, the 4 men that have shared the 7 Tour de Ski titles. Is it going to be Bauer's year? He looked pretty good up in Finland at the start of the season.
Always fascinates me how much training Lukas Bauer can withstand. Watching him on the glacier, he'll put in 50 kilometres at 2,700 metres elevation. Not fast kilometres, but then he's out again in the afternoon for a very hard hour-and-a-half running with ski pole session, and doing that for a 10, 15-day camp, even longer sometimes, 20-day camp. It's pretty tough. Of course, rest days in there as well.
Well, the snow is almost up to their knees. Well, if there was enough of it, it would be. I think more importantly, the skis are almost down to the gravel underneath. It's difficult conditions, and all our sympathies go out to those who are preparing the tracks, because they're going to be up all night trying to get some sort of shape back into the course for tomorrow's sprint event over 1.5 kilometres. Alex Harvey still leading as Chernozov of Russia comes in. Chernozov he's not going to be too far outside the best pace. The top 6 separated by 16 seconds, and he's comfortably inside that margin. So third place for Chernozov. Still 2 Canadians leading. Harvey ahead of Kershaw, Chernozov into 3rd. Dugalath is in 4 for France, and Eriksson of Sweden sitting in 5th at the moment.
Just trying to catch up with where Northug is. Is this him now?
This is, I think that's Krok of Norway coming through, number 70. Northug wearing number 78.
Ow.
If you're going to fall in style, but that's possibly the worst place, because he's lost all his momentum and now won't get the advantage of carrying speed round the corner and down the final little bit of downhill. That's got to be worth 20 seconds.
Alexei, well, there he is again. Ivanu from Belarus, there he is, 83. Must have lost, what, 5-7 seconds there. Here's Northug. It's looking good. It's a very good start.
He's still got a few metres to go, 3 or 4 seconds outside, so he's pretty much on par with Dierhaug, as you can see, his teammate. But the current leader, Alex Harvey, was pretty much the same time. We'll try and match those 2 up to see whether Northug has got it right. So Northug 3 seconds outside the lead. Harvey at that stage was 3.8 seconds outside. So don't give up hope if you're a Northug fan quite yet. 88 from Kazakhstan, Alexei Poltaranin. Last of the big Kazakhs to start today. We have Legkov of Russia, who of course is the defending Tour de Ski champion. 89, Francesco De Fabiani of Italy. He's one of the men put in between the seeded athletes. He's no slouch, but don't expect to see him compete with Poltaranin or Legkov.
A lot of the technicians earlier this morning were changing the size of the basket at the end of the ski pole. Quite rightly, I think you need a paddle at the bottom of the ski poles just to get maximum use. They're just sinking in so much through the soft snow.
Hoffman going for high tempo. Might be the way, but I feel he's going to be on his knees come the final lap. So the defence of the Tour de Ski has been mounted by Alexander Legkov. Good for him for turning up. I'm surprised with the Olympics in Sochi that he hasn't decided that that's where all his focus should be. He's going to struggle, Mike, if he gets that much traffic on this first lap.
There's so much traffic on this track. Yeah, every athlete, 109 of them on the same, sharing the same 1.5 kilometres. But hey, you have to deal with it. And I'm not sure this track and these conditions suit Legkov, but if anyone can work hard, it is Alexander Legkov.
Yeah, one thing they could have done on that very first corner is to have just reserve the inside lane for those on their first lap. or you can do it the other way around. You can push the first lap skiers wide and then keep everyone else on the inside, because there is such a contrast between your first time around that corner and the second and third.
Valid point, and I wonder, well, the jury should maybe have thought of that beforehand, because you're right, everyone exiting this first corner, fresh legs, it's a massive attack around there, getting their path spoiled.
Maurice Magnificat starting now. 83, another broken pole, and part of the problem here is that they keep catching the ski tip in the snow, and as it whips forward, sometimes it just cracks the ski pole, and you find yourself with a pole 6 inches shorter than it was before. 84 is Halvarsson of Sweden. And that's not a bad time at all for 2.3. He's in the running as well, perhaps not for the win, but certainly for a top 5 if he can do what Alex Harvey managed to do on the last leg. The World Cup leader, Martin Jonsrud Sundby of Norway. Brilliant season he's had so far. Looked very, very good up in Kuusamo at the start of the season. He looked even better when the Tour went to Lillehammer. What will he do today? Well, he dances his way over the first 50 metres, and now he's got to just keep his fingers crossed that he gets a clean run.
Well, just thinking of Jonsrud Sundby, he matched up, he teamed up with Andrew Musgrave at the Norwegian National Championships in the team sprint race, and they won by a huge margin, and Andrew Musgrave still in 13th position right now. Some huge names have already crossed the line. It's a great performance.
Yeah, he's taken full advantage of an early start number, but anyone who watched his run a little earlier on will know that he gave it 100%. Perhaps he gave it a little bit too much on the first lap. A lonely ski out there for Petter Northug. Doesn't look to be firing on all cylinders at the moment, Mike.
Is he trying to get that glide? Yes, he is. This is what we kind of saw with Alex Harvey, just trying on the recovery phases to get efficiency of movement on the skis. I reckon he's still in it at the moment.
Well, he's 13, 14, 15 seconds outside, and he's still got another 30 metres to go, so it's going to be a very disappointing start. He's been beaten by Andy Norsgrave. Södergren has beaten him, which will hurt a little. 24.6 seconds down, and Northug is still a long, long way from his best form.
He will be so disappointed with that. He started with intent, but just couldn't hold the pace. And these conditions are without a doubt becoming, well, less comfortable to ski on and not as fast.
So Northug picking up a virus over the summer, which isn't unusual for an endurance athlete who's so close to the limit all the time. How much do you think that is affecting his form now? And more importantly, will it come this season?
Well, I think it really is affecting him. I know he lost about 6 weeks of training, and then you have to rebuild again. Not lost entirely 6 weeks, but it affected his whole plan. And he must still be suffering from that. He gave it everything in the first part, but he seemed to die. I thought he was being very efficient in his movements, but he just ran out of steam.
Here comes Legkov up to 2.3, and even the defending champion can't get anywhere near Tritcher, and he's another 3 seconds down on the current leader, Alex Harvey. He's 4 seconds down on Devon Kershaw, who lies in second place. He's not so far off the pace set by Chernozov, who once again produced a very quick time. And if there's one common denominator amongst the top 5 athletes at the moment, it's that they produced a fantastic last lap.
That is the key aspect, and especially the last 750 metres for both of the Canadians, for Devon Kershaw and for Alex Harvey. They just put in an amazing final 750, so they definitely saved a real blast for that last section.
And that 750 takes in the last climb and that 500 metres into the finish.
Yes, it takes up this climb. Of course, the last 750 is up here. Then there's the slight descent, and then back round into the stadium. Musgrave still 13th position.
86 is Chris Jespersen of Norway.
Kalle Halvorsen there looking, well, a little spent but smooth.
Well, Alex Harvey will be delighted with the way things have gone today. Obviously took the Christmas break to bring him up to his very best form. What have you made of Harvey so far this season, Mike?
Yeah, he's thrown in some good performances. I liked the way he set out or started the last weekend in Asiago, but in fact he was then disqualified, allegedly not sticking to the assigned course. I think that was a nice way of saying he was skating outside of the expected cornering. I suspect that's what happened, so he didn't go through into the finals.
Yeah, a lot of disqualifications in Asiago, and I think if you're going to produce a classic race that's so flat, you're bound to get it. There are lots of technical corners where you are allowed to skate, but it wasn't an ideal course. I know the snow conditions, once again, affecting the way they laid it out, but on the whole, it was a disappointing race.
Yes, lack of snow making it so difficult. Jespersen, he started well in third position. He ended well to hold on to that early pace that he set. That's a brilliant performance.
Well, that puts Chernousov down into fourth position, and we still have 10 seconds separating the top three positions. Canada, Norway now the leading three. Just looking at the intermediates, Mike, to see if anyone else is getting anywhere close from the later starters. Polteranen into the finish now. He's still got a way to go, Polteranen. Pretty difficult to spot the finish, but I can tell you he's still got at least 50 meters to complete before the clock will stop, so the Kazakh isn't going to challenge the top three positions today. Chris Jespersen, as we saw, was threatening. I can't see anyone else in the top seeds who's getting close. Polteranen, we know. What about Alexander Legkov? Last I saw, he was outside the top 10.
Legkov, absolutely. Well, he was 7.7 seconds behind in 23rd position, and that was 2.3 kilometers. And there he is.
Well, he's still got 150 meters, and even a man of his caliber won't complete that in the time that he's got. So 9:03 survives. Harvey will stay in first. Kershaw stays second. Jespersen is going to hold on to a top three for now, and the defending champion picking up no bonus seconds today. He's going to have to do it the hard way, but he knows that his best chance and the best leg for him is the very final day of the Tour. Maurice Magnifica and Martin Jonsrud Sundby are the two seeds that still have to finish, and I'm afraid the conditions getting the better of a lot of the big names today. It's helped those who started early. Here comes Maurice Magnifica, who we thought might be light enough and technically good enough to do well today, but he's going to be at least 15-20 seconds off the pace of the leaders. A lot of work to do for some of the favoured athletes.
Big time, and one of the biggest surprises for me is Petter Northug. What was it, 22.5 seconds behind? He really held his pace most of the distance, faded in the last 800-900 metres.
So Alex Harvey will be a bit disappointed that a stage win in the Tour de Ski doesn't count as a World Cup win, because it would have been his first. He's been on the podium a couple of times. What have we seen him on the podium 3 times in his career so far? Magnifica 25 seconds off the pace, 28th position at the moment. Add another 15 for the bonuses for the leader, Now, this looks pretty good from Sundby, and he's a good 15 seconds closer than we saw from Maurice Magnificat, so that could be worth a top 5 or 6 position for Sundby. At the last split point, Sundby was still outside the top 10 positions, but he looks to be finishing strongly.
He is, he really is. Tough from that 94 bib, but of course Alex Harvey's bib number 56, so he wasn't in that. It's tough conditions for everybody out there today.
It's going to be about 15 seconds for Sundby, just under. And 6th position. I think that's a pretty solid run, isn't it? I think he'll be happy. The overall World Cup leader has started well, and that is more than can be said for many of the world's best cross-country skiers. They got a little unlucky with the conditions today. Alex Harvey, though, has overridden that and produced what may be the best run of his career so far. Welcome back to Oberhof, the last of the starters going through the halfway stage. It's Arndt Pfeiffer, the German biathlete, who still looks pretty strong. He knows these tracks better than most, and certainly it will have held no fear for him. The question is, how long will he keep it going? The leader, and I think without a doubt, today's winner, Alex Harvey of Canada, the son of Pierre Harvey, who failed to win medals in 1988 when the Olympics went to Calgary, but he did go on to win the Holmenkollen 50 about 2 weeks later, which is the World Cup to win. So I'm sure Pierre is watching and enjoying the fact that his son is top of the leaderboard. 9:03.4 will not be beaten now, and we got 2 Canadians, Mike, 1 and 2 on the podium. Of course, the Four Hills in Oberstdorf today getting underway. The contest that will run over the New Year period. David Goldstrom on hand to cover all those events. He'll be enjoying the conditions out in Oberstdorf, and no problems with the snow conditions there. So Harvey, Kershaw, 1 and 2. The Canadians haven't had 2 men on top of the podium, I think, since the World Championships when they won the team sprint event. And look at that. Andy Musgrave, 17th position, a bag full of World Cup points coming his way, and his FIS points are going to tumble after today. The conditions helped, but his aggression certainly was impressive.
It was wonderful. Great to see him in 17th position, and tomorrow, who knows what, maybe even better.
Wir warten natürlich auf diese Athleten, die so gut aussehen, nicht nach vorne.